Hi guys, welcome back to the stay-at-home garden lesson. Today we're going to be learning how to train our tomato plants, and I have an assistant here with me today. Her name is Becky.
Hi.
Alright, so if you guys have any tomato plants growing and they look like mine, they're big and luscious, you'll realize that maybe they're a little bit too luscious. So we actually are going to be training our plants. Certain tomato plants, they're bushy like cherry tomatoes, they like to sprawl and that's okay. But when you have a vining tomato, you want it to go up long and tall and skinny, and you don't want all these leaves. So there's a few reasons for that I'll go through. First, why do you think we trim the leaves off the bottom near the soil?
Well, these leaves look kind of like moldy and like things are eating them.
That's exactly right. So they're diseases and where bugs come in and can attack them. And moldy leaf is actually very common. So what you're going to do is go in and trim the leaves that are, touching the ground. So you simply cut the end of your leaf nice and close to the main stem. Yeah, so you can see Becky got a good one that is not looking happy, and we don't want that on our plant. So another reason to prune is that there's a lot of leaves and you actually want good airflow going through to help from disease, and also to make sure that you have really good pollination and good fruit. So then the last reason that I will be pruning and training my plants is there are a lot of main stems on here, and we actually just want one main one going up when it is a viney tomato plant. And so we don't want all these little extras going off of here. So what I will do, I'll pick the main stem that's long and big and strong. This one I'm voting is in, and I'm actually going to trim most of the other ones that are coming off to the side. Now, there's a lot of these on this plant. I was a little late on doing this, but that's okay, it will be fine. So I'm not gonna do all of them today because I don't wanna shock my plant and take off the majority of its leaves. It will go into shock and it may not survive. So I'll trim a few this week and a few next week, and once I do that, it will put more energy into this main stalk. So what I'm gonna do is actually go straight to the stem, right here, and cut it off. All right, so now that seems scary that I just chopped that much off my plant.
Smells good.
Yeah, so you'll notice the flavor, it's actually the resin and pollen on the plant itself. So it's actually gonna make your hands a little itchy. It will turn them a little bit yellow, black, and it might stain your hands for a day or two if you're working in tomatoes a lot. But that's usually just when I'm in a greenhouse, so don't worry about it, guys. Wash your hands if they're itchy, it's perfectly okay. And if tomatoes really bother you, you can wear gloves and just long sleeves so it doesn't scratch you too much. Now, some of you, like myself, 1 second, I'm gonna lose track, will see that there's some fruit and flowers going on, and I get really sad when I cut those off. But the important thing is to realize when you trim all the excess out, you will get a main stem that will produce your biggest, healthiest, happiest looking tomatoes. You may lose some tomatoes in the go, but they'll be smaller and they won't be as juicy and as big. Yes.
What kind of tomatoes are the vining ones? The big juicy ones?
Yeah, so your average tomato are big juicy ones, and those are the vining ones, but the smaller cherry tomatoes, those are the bush tomatoes. And you can look at your tag, it will be indeterminate or determinate, and that will let you know which one it is. So we've trimmed a lot off this plant. I'm gonna let it recuperate, but ones I'm gonna look back to trim later. You wanna look at where your stem and leaf kind of connect, right here. And if this was branching and creating a lot of foliage, I would wanna cut that. But right now, just because it's a leaf, it's perfectly fine. But if you look on the other side of
this one here,
this comes out and there are leaves on the top and a whole stem. So that one's gonna wanna try to compete. So we'll trim that another day. All right, so Becky is going to cage our tomato. It's actually gonna protect it. We wanna make sure these slide outside of the main stem. Try not to stab too many leaves. And you're gonna simply slide it in there nice and slow. In case you have some branches, you wanna make sure you tuck them in and don't squish them down. So let's get
let's get these leaves in.
Yeah, and then a nice push while she's doing that. All right, so there you go, and it's gonna grow nice and tall up here. So make sure if you have big, heavy hanging fruits, you can try to place them over the frame. That way you don't break any of the stems. All right guys, thanks for watching our video on how to prune your tomato and cage it. And like always, I want to hear from you guys, so feel free to send comments, pictures, videos of your garden and your plants, and definitely send me any questions you have about planting, seeding, soil making, and particularly about your tomato plants. I hope they're growing, and have a great day. Enjoy the sun. Happy growing.